Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
And my name is Ashton.
Where is he?
He's got the holiday plots.
Oh,
which
tragic.
again, for those unclear, means he is on holiday.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he's got the plops while he's on holiday. He might.
He might have eaten some milk chocolate.
He might have.
Or milk.
Milk, yeah. But no, he's just on his hollybobs in the Netherlands.
Yes. Plops is just sort of a catch-all term for any reason any of us are off.
Yeah.
Even if it is actually
Plops.
diarrhea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a catch-all term.
It's just in case one day it actually is plops. You'll never know. You know? It's so that we have our secrets. Such as if we have plops,
yes,
you'll never know.
We might be overcompensating. Maybe we do actually have
always
plops,
have plops,
and we're just our diets are dreadful.
Yeah.
But Peter is on holiday, so it's just the two of us today. Very exciting week for video games. Lots of big releases coming. Mm-hmm. Some big releases this week. We've got, at the time of recording now, it's Thursday. Tonight is the Xbox podcast where they are going to talk all about the future of their business strategy for Xbox.
Yeah.
We don't know what that is right now, but we're going to record the big discussion tomorrow morning, that being Friday morning, or yesterday at the time of release. So we can actually talk about that in detail, but we'll get to that later on. Ashton Matthews.
Yes.
Each and every week, we're sponsored by a very real video game adjacent sponsor.
Incredibly real.
They help us keep that bulb on.
Yes.
The one bulb up
Correct.
there. Do you see Dead Island 2 the Spider? Have
No.
you seen Dead Island 2 the Spider recently?
No, but it's gone cold again, so maybe they've gone back into hiding.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like that looks like a perfect little spider house down
It
there.
does look like a perfect spider house.
Where all the cables are going. So
Yeah.
maybe they'll emerge at some point. I don't know. I've got the ad read in front of me now.
Oh, yeah.
This week was Valentine's Day.
It was.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. It was also Pancake Day as well
Happy
this
Pancake Week as well. I hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed your pancakes and are now giving up chocolate for Jesus.
Oh, yes, for Jesus.
Jesus didn't like chocolate,
Yeah.
so we don't eat that.
Have you
during
given anything up for Lent?
No.
Or no.
No, because I'm
Me
not
neither.
6.
No.
And chocolate's great.
I'm not sick.
Uh,
Does it have to be chocolate?
No, it's just sort of like a traditional
I thought
thing,
it's
isn't
just like you just pick something and give it
Yeah,
up.
you can give it up. I think it's like a kid's thing, to be fair.
okay.
Like, oh, try and give up chocolate for 40 days.
Yeah.
Or Jesus will judge you. He'll get you.
Yeah.
So it was Valentine's Day this week.
It was, yeah, sorry.
And my sponsor is related to that.
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft, they're aware that some people have performance issues
Yeah.
in the boudoir.
Yeah, okay.
And so they released a special limited time product. It's called Skull and Boned. And
Oh, that wasn't the word I thought it was going to be.
No?
No.
Which one did you think?
I thought it was going to be Skull and Boners.
Okay, well, that's also good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one would you prefer?
Oh, well, it's your real ad read,
yeah,
so
I
it has
can't
to be
change
Skull
it. I
and
suppose
Boned.
Skull and Boned, which you can now find in all good pharmacies. I don't actually know what it does, but I know what it's called.
Right.
Skull and Boned.
Is it a little blue pill?
Don't know. Could be some sort of aerosol related.
Maybe it's a little black pill with a Jolly Roger on
with a
it.
Jolly Roger.
Yeah.
And then you'll plunder booty or something. I don't
yeah.
know, something like that. But it is available now. If you just go to Tesco and ask,
Yeah.
say, I'd like some Skull and Boned, and they'll go, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
I'll get you that right now.
And they're all dressed up as pirates, just for the marketing.
In the pharmacies.
In the pharmacies,
All the pharmacies this week.
Yeah.
All pirates.
Eye patches,
Mm-hmm.
all fake birds.
And they've got like T-shirts that say, ask me about getting skull and boned.
Yeah. Ask me about getting boned, is what it says.
It is. I've seen it and it's true.
Yeah.
Except it's not true.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
what?
What? Skull and Boned is not a real Valentine's
Skull and
Day
Boners, however, is
thing.
real.
Yes, you can get that. We implore you to go to Lloyd's pharmacies and ask, or like
For
any
Skull
vitamin and
and
wellness
Boners.
centers.
Yeah.
Skull and Boners. That's real.
Yeah.
What we are actually sponsored by, though, Ashton, is our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump. If you go and support us there, loads of tiers available, loads of rewards available as well, including asking questions on this podcast, early access to weirdest games and worst games ever, exclusive access to episodes of Rules Boss and Main Menu. Should be a new episode of Rules Boss going out in a couple of weeks' time, I believe, very soon. Start of every month.
Yeah.
Sorry, my nose is running slightly. It's a bit cold outside today. Thank you so much to our amazing patrons. Why not go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump and go and check it out? There's a few other places you can find us as well, though.
There are.
TripleJ.mup. That's triplejU.mp is our website. There you can find links to everything we do. If you want a cameo from us, if you want to join our Discord, our YouTube, Twitch, all is there. Also, TripleJumpShop.com is where you can go and buy some fantastic merchandise like that hoodie right there. New merch coming soon.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've finalized designs. We're now waiting on samples, and once the samples are approved, we order in the stock.
We've been
and
here
then we
before.
and then we can sell it to you. It's coming. Get ready. Get those wallets ready. We know you've been saving up.
Yeah.
Every day you put a £1 coin aside and go
for the TripleJump
for the
merch.
TripleJump merch drop.
Yeah.
You must be loaded now, so you'll
Or
be able
if
to buy
you've
everything.
been putting £1 in a jar every time we've said merch drop coming soon, you should probably have enough to afford the merch.
You
by
can
now.
or if you don't, mortgage your house. Get some new merch. But it will hopefully be here soon.
Yeah.
TripleJumpShop.com, though, we have some fantastic merch there already. You can go check that out. Loads of things out this week, Ashton.
Yeah. So weirdest games every week. Happens every 2 weeks, just in case you didn't know.
Worst games this week.
Worst game, sorry. Did I say weirdest?
Weirdest last weekend, though.
I meant worst. It's George of the Jungle. Was it good?
No.
Was it worst?
It was worst than most, yeah. It's
Good.
based on the animated George of the Jungle, not
Yeah, I think I
Brendan.
know of the game. Yeah. And
not
also,
Brendan one.
there's a ranked out this week.
Yes. Every Tony Hawk game ranked from worst to best. If you remember, there have been some really bad ones.
Some bad Tonky Hanks.
Some bad Tonky Hanks, and that's why there aren't no Tonky Hanks no more. But there are also some fantastic ones. So make sure you go and watch that video in its entirety. We'd really appreciate it.
Yes. And then out on Monday,
Yeah.
it's already been out, so you might have already seen it. We did a bonus Jonas podcast. We talked all about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It was a hashtag ad. We were sponsored by the game, which we were very excited about because we're big fans of the game. And why not check that out? It's an hour of Ben gushing about how much he loves Final Fantasy VII, and me and James are there too.
You guys did a great job. And it was lovely to be able to talk about Final Fantasy VII in such detail. There's a link in the description of that video and also in the pinned comment. If you could all just take a second and go and click that link.
Just click on the link.
We would really appreciate that. That would help us out loads because it tells the people who gave us money that we should give them more money to do other things.
And maybe Big Game Senpai might finally notice us and bless us with code.
Possibly.
Please, a PlayStation 5 code. We never get those for anything.
We'd love to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but if you go click that link, we might be able to replace the other bulb as well, which would be fantastic.
Just the one bulb though, not the other two over
No.
there.
We'll get that's we don't want to ask for the world.
No, exactly.
But that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth podcast available now. That went out at the start of the week, and also because it was Valentine's Day, the annual Hunky
Boys. How could I have forgotten?
Hunkiest Video Game Boys 2023 to 2024 list is now on the channel. We've downgraded from 15 to 10. Not because there were fewer Hunky Boys, but because we want to sort of streamline the format. It's a deeply upsetting list.
Yeah.
Animated in wonderful style by Ciaran.
Yeah.
And it will hurt your soul.
I sometimes wish that Ciaran left some of the bloopers in because I can only imagine there's many of an occasion between the three of us where we're like, oh my God, oh no.
That's too much.
Jesus Christ, cat.
Too crude.
Yeah.
So yes, go and watch that list available on the channel. Loads of amazing stuff out this week. But now it's time to crack on with the podcast.
It is.
I've got question one right here. This is from Cameron
Do you?
Keyword. I do. He says, hi Bap.
Hi.
Helldivers 2 creative director and Arrowhead CEO Johan Pielstedt, I'm going to guess, believes games should earn the right to monetize, adding that whilst players are welcome to support them via microtransactions, Arrowhead is never forcing anyone to do so. The game seems to be doing well, as it is now PlayStation's biggest Steam launch, clocking up over 150,000 concurrent users on the PC platform over the weekend. Do you believe that gamers will be more receptive if games released microtransactions free with them? Hang on. If games released microtransaction
free, comma, with them
right,
added
okay,
in
with
later.
them added in later if the game is successful.
There's a comma missing.
By then, the casuals will have dropped off. Are these full stops? I'm very confused about this sentence structure here. By then, the casuals will have dropped off.
Full stop.
Microtransactions seem like they are here to stay, so this is a better way of them being utilized. Apologies.
Is this better way of being
Oh my God. Apologies, Cameron. I'm having difficulty reading your question.
It's okay. We got the gist.
Yeah, so that's the question. I've got a write-up here as well from Push Square. With the industry as volatile as it is, publishers and developers must find new ways to monetize and offer value to their players to keep them coming back. Released on Friday, Helldivers 2 from developer Arrowhead Studios had a massive weekend doing things slightly differently from its competitors in the service space, which might be part of the reason for its success. On Twitter, creative director Johan how did I say it last time? Pilstedt had an interesting take on the subject, suggesting that you have to earn the right to monetize, which is one of the key differences when it comes to the chaotic cooperative shooter. People are free to support the game if they like it, but we are never forcing anyone to do so. While there are microtransactions in Helldivers 2 in the form of super credits, players can pick this premium currency up while playing or unlock more through the War Bonds progression system. Further, unlockable weapons or cosmetics won't be seasonally locked, and players are free to work through them at their leisure. So Helldivers 2.
Yeah. I mean, I really like this energy that's coming out of the CEO of the company. I think he's very right in saying this, and I think that there is maybe an element of microtransactions where people would be more receptive to them being in games if the game's earned it. Things like Suicide Squad, unfortunately, have not earned their right to microtransact because they haven't given gamers enough content up front for their money to then be like, and if you fancy spending a bit more money, it's just here as well.
Also, I don't think you get any costumes free or can earn any of them. You just have to start buying them.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well, like, there has been examples where adding microtransactions in later hasn't necessarily worked out well or has kind of upset people. For example, Disney Dreamlight Valley. It's not the same as like most live service games, but it started off as early access and there was no microtransactions. Then further along the line, they added just some microtransactions that you could potentially spend your money on. You can get the moon coins or whatever they're called and spend them on cosmetic stuff. And then obviously they added in they made the game no longer free to play and added you had to pay for the game plus the microtransactions. And then they also added the DLCs were paid as well, which is one of those things where it did upset the audience, but that's mainly because they said it wasn't going to be paid game. They said it was going to be free to play, paid expansions, and microtransactions. And I think people would have been much more receptive to it if that was the case. But regarding Helldivers, I mean, they've blown up this week, which has really surprised me because I know that Sony were pushing it quite a lot, but I hadn't really heard anyone talking about it.
Did not feel like there was a lot of hype before launch.
There wasn't a lot of hype. And I don't know if the hype has come since launch. People have been putting clips and stuff on there and like people have been like, that looks fun and played it. But in terms of the microtransaction side of it, I think that this is a really healthy way of looking at microtransactions from a company. I think that they've kind of done it with the respect to gamers that I think a lot of live service games don't have. And maybe, I mean, having not played the game, I've not seen how in your face any of the microtransaction stuff is. But the fact that they have kind of been like, you can, but you really don't have to. It's just an added bonus should you wish to, I think is a much healthier way of doing it than, yeah, we've made a game and we'd really like you to buy the other stuff actually as well, thank you. Here's the other stuff. Here's the other stuff. Here's the other stuff. But I think this is a much healthier way of dealing with it.
I agree. I think it's just players don't want to have the piss taken, really. And it also relies on you having a good and fun game that people want to play. Because if your game is really fun, players are more likely to put up with whatever obstructive bollocks you end up putting in there. But if your game is really fun and you're being reasonable, then you're going to get a lot of praise for that. I'm still not really a fan of any kind of live service stuff because it doesn't appeal to me. But there's clearly a right way and a wrong way to do it. And the wrong way is a game like Suicide Squad, which apparently isn't live service, but sort of is. And the right way to do it is the way that Helldivers is doing it. I know that they've faced some criticism with their anti-cheat system that they've got in place. That's ruffled feathers. But largely it sounds like they're just really, getting players on their side. Like people are really enjoying the message that they're putting out into the world. There's actually a quote on their website I may just be sort of paraphrasing here, but it says a game for everyone is a game for no one, which I think is a really interesting perspective. I think they're coming at it with a very different philosophy from a lot of developers we've seen try to tackle this kind of space before. And you can read into that a game for everyone is a game for no one thing as you could misconstrue. I think it'd be misconstrued to assume that that's like an anti-accessibility thing, where it's like, because obviously you want as many people to play your game as possible. But I think in this specific instance, they're referring to the fact that, Helldivers probably isn't going to be for everyone, and it's kind of niche, but we're really trying to make a game that is for that niche group of people. And I think these people are finding Helldivers and are like, brilliant, this is great. You're not compromising, and that's fantastic. Microtransactions are sadly a necessary evil in a lot of games, and Helldivers 2 is already, I think, a budget title at like £40. It's not a full retail release. And so I'm really happy to see it. I'm hoping to play some this weekend, so I'll be able to talk about it a bit next week. But the reception's been great, and I'm really happy to see that. And hopefully it won't, to be clear, but hopefully it popularizes a more relaxed, reasonable approach to live service, battle passes, that kind of stuff.
I think that is it. It's relaxed, and it's like you were saying, it doesn't treat the consumer with any kind of like disrespect, in that it acknowledges the money that you've spent on the game already. It like happens, it's like, you've paid money for this, that's great. It then doesn't be like, but give us more money constantly. It feels like some live service games, you can't really get away from the microtransactions. And I think that if you load up a game and the very first thing you see, like you were saying with Suicide Squad, you load up the game and then immediately you've the option to spend extra money on buying a costume. I think that is where people's issues immediately come from, of like, I can't move in this game without someone trying to charge me extra money. And I also think it does depend on how much money people charge for microtransactions, because I think sometimes, like, I can't remember what game it was. I don't think it was Suicide Squad. It might have been, or it might have been Foam Stars. I'm not quite sure. I saw someone say that one of the costumes from day one release was like an extra 30 quid of IRL money.
Okay, that's not Suicide Squad, but it was still expensive. It was like £8.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that it's just, microtransactions are just horrible. And I wish they didn't exist. But if they did have to exist, I would like them to come in further along the line. So people who do love the game and do want to spend more money on it because they've got so much time out of it, can spend the money without it being mandatory.
Is this it? Because I played a bit of Foam Stars. So you can buy a set of things, a bundle. So it includes like customization for your board, a skin, and a few other things. And that's $36.99. Just for an outfit, though, £9.
Absolutely insane.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Insane.
It's an awful lot. Yeah, I took a photo of it because I was like, that is bonkers. I know you get, and I'm using air quotes here, a lot in a bundle. You're not just buying a skin.
Yeah.
But who in their right mind is spending that kind of money?
You can get like eight costumes for like one AAA game.
Yeah.
Just buy a new game.
Yeah, you could. Or you could spend it on us at our merch store.
Yeah.
You can buy skin for you.
Yeah, a skin for you.
A TripleJump skin for you.
Our microtransactions are skins for your human person.
Don't think of it as clothes. Think of it as skins.
Yeah.
It's a normal human.
Costumes.
That's a very go and touch grass way to describe clothes, I think.
It is.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see it. It's nice because they're a smaller studio, and obviously this is great for PlayStation as well, and potentially not great for us because this is their first big live servicey kind of game doing well, and they're like, brilliant, this is working. And we had confirmation this week that we're not going to see any major IP releases from Sony, first party IP releases, until like early next year, which is bonkers. So we're probably going to get some more games like this, and I don't know about that, but if they're good, then that's great.
Do you know what though? Actually, thinking about the last 12 months, there has been a real increase, and I think a welcome increase of these slightly smaller developers coming into the space and enforcing there to be a reshuffle. and people to have a rethink. Like Larian coming in with Baldur's Gate 3. No one expected that to do as well as it did, and has kind of thrown a spanner in the works for a lot of upcoming RPGs, I think. And then things like this, where these smaller studios have gone in and they've made their game and they've changed things up a little bit. They've done things differently, and it's been so well received by the audience. I think that hopefully, given how things have been going over the last 12 months with big giant studios having to lay off significant amount of people, I hope that maybe we'll see a resurgence in these AA, slightly smaller studios, and potentially see a shift in the industry. I would like to see that. And it feels like there's becoming more and more little lesser known studios that are appearing, that are doing things differently, that are doing really well. So I'm hopeful with things like this that, it's live service, so I can't be that hopeful because it is still a live service game. Yeah. However, a smaller studio coming in, doing things differently and doing well is a positive thing in my book.
Yep, I completely agree. Hopefully we see some more reasonable business practices.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. The entire industry has changed because it's always been about making money. But since billions were on the table, everybody wants billions. Yeah. And that has created something of a destructive cycle. Because if you can have it all, you've got to shoot for it. You won't accept anything less. People lose their jobs. Yeah. That's what happens.
Yeah. Well, now it's a segment that Peter Austin said we weren't allowed to do.
What?
So
that criminal.
While he's not here, I figured now's as good a time as any
to give it a go.
And then if the audience really like it, when he comes back, we'll force him to do it.
We'll force him.
Yeah.
Silly ploppy boy.
Yeah, exactly. It's called What We Playin.
Okay. It's What We Playin time. Time to talk about the games what we have been playing. Peter Austin, what have you been playing? Nothing.
It would have probably been nothing. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Got him.
Just kidding.
What have you been playing?
I have only played 2 things this week, but I'm finally allowed to talk about one of them.
Yes.
There's one I've been mentioning for a few weeks now that I've not been allowed to talk about, but I
couldn't work out what that was, even though I was the one that
you gave me
the code for it.
Yeah. But mainly, the thing I played this weekend was Baldur's Gate 3. Yes. I am so close to the end now. I am literally, I think, at the final mission.
Okay.
Or going into the very final part of the game. I've finished I think all of the companion side quests are now done. They've all got their legendary weapon type situation.
That's cool.
And I'm max level, and I realised I have been max level for about 3 weeks.
What is max level?
12.
Oh, is it?
Level 12 is max level.
Oh, okay. I think I hit that.
Yeah. Because I was like, man, I've not leveled up in a while. Googled it. Max level's 12.
Oh, that's fair.
Because I think if you were any higher level, you'd be mad OP in the world. I already feel like sometimes I'm going into a fight and I'm just Shadowheart's just going, and everyone's dead. Yeah. So I'm like, wow.
My lockpick skill was so high that I didn't even, the amount of modifiers I had on, it was already giving me 25.
Yeah. Astarian's got plus 17 to his lockpick rolls. So now we're just get Astarian out of the camp, come open this door, send him back to the camp and get someone else out. But yeah, I've been still really enjoying that game and I am so close to finishing it now. So very close.
I hope you like the end. It's a good end.
I'm hopeful for it and I'm excited.
You going for a goodie end?
Yeah,
you think?
I think so. We've done most of the goodie things so far and we've been collecting allies for our fight. And every time another person pops up in that journal entry of this person will be your friend, I'm like, yes, another one. I can't wait to see what happens next. So I'm really excited to dive into the rest of it now. But the other thing I've been playing is Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. And I will talk about that in a review corner momentarily.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you about that because that's from the Life is Strange people, right?
Yeah, don't nod.
Yeah, I like their previous work, so I'm interested to see how that's come.
Well, I'll tell you about it in a minute.
All right, cool, excited. I've played a few things. I was looking for a new co-op game, booted up the old Game Pass, Far Cry 5. There it is. And I managed to get another 14 days of Game Pass for £1. I don't think I should have been able to.
No.
But I signed up to play Palworld in co-op.
Yeah.
Paid my £1, got my 14 days, it expired. And then I thought, you know what, screw it. For I'll pay 12, 13 quid or whatever for a month of Game Pass. Went on, it was like, do you want a 14-day trial for £1? I was like, Yes, please, I would.
Every time I go on Game Pass, it tells me I need to buy Game Pass again.
Really?
But then I'm like, I've already got Game Pass and I can just click past it. But it's always like, you're on a 14-day trial for £1. And I'm like, I literally just like
I'm
2 days ago
subscribed.
gave you £7. What do you mean for £1? What are you talking about?
If you sign up for the 14-day thing, every time you start up a game, it does say, your Game Pass is running out soon. It's like, I know, it's only 14 days.
Yeah.
You told me this. I'm aware. But I've been playing some Far Cry 5, and I got to say, I prefer the setting of that one and the antagonists way more than Far Cry 6's.
Is
antagonists
5
and world.
the John Smith one, the
John
American
Seed,
one?
Joseph Seed.
Joseph Seed.
Yeah, and his family. Yeah, the sort of religious cult one. Yeah, it was really cool. The opening is great as well. Reminded me of sort of like the opening of a Call of Duty game where it's very linear and you're like, it feels dangerous because you're walking into their camp and stuff. Yeah,
I've heard that 5 isn't very good. People don't like 5 that much.
I also don't like it very much.
Okay.
I just think
It's better than you thought.
I just think it's better than I thought it was
Right.
going to be. Yeah, and I've been playing it in co-op, and every single one of the co-op issues and bugs that I had in 6 are in 5.
Yeah, of course they are.
But because I was playing online previously,
How dare you expect
and
things
now,
to be different?
and now I'm playing next to the other person.
Yeah.
I can see these bugs, and they are chef's kiss. They are so good. Enemies like straight up T-posing.
Yeah.
Vehicles not there.
Brilliant.
Enemies not there. Can
Good.
still hurt you, but you can't see them.
Cool.
Like just vehicles exploding for no reason. Getting stuck in the environment, falling under the world.
Yeah.
All that stuff is there, and it's brilliant. And so I'm not really
It
paying
works so good.
much attention to the story. Again, I think it has, like 6, I think it has a pacing problem where I really want to chase the bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, go and talk to like 15 different people in different camps and go and do odd jobs for them until we let you do a story mission. It's like, that is so boring. I really want there to be like follow a story through the whole thing, because I do think that Joseph Seed is a really cool baddie.
Yeah, does he
And I
not
like
speak? Or did I make that up?
He does speak.
Oh,
He does speak.
He didn't speak.
If you know wrestling, he looks an awful lot like Adam Cole, like scarily like Adam Cole. There's a big statue of him on a hill. It's
Right.
like, why is there
That's
a statue
Adam
of Adam Cole, the wrestler, on that hill? But yeah, like I'm enjoying it, but for like the same reasons I enjoyed Far Cry 6.
Yeah.
I definitely came into this one with my expectations like rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm having a fun time.
Good.
You know, Ubisoft is good at these kinds of games. They just don't work very well.
No.
Especially in co-op. And that is where half the fun's coming
Do you know what
from
I
for me.
do wish was co-op?
Go on.
Their Avatar game.
Oh yeah.
I wish that had co-op in it.
That sort of came and went, didn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot it came out.
Some people absolutely love it.
Well, someone's paying to see all these movies over and over again, aren't
Yeah,
they?
but I mean, like I think Don't Rage Quit.
Yeah.
I think she loved that game.
Really?
When she was playing it. Like, she properly, but like, played it for a while on stream, so
I'm
she
glad.
must have liked it. But I have not heard anyone talk about it. Like,
No, I
one's.
haven't either.
It came and went because it released such a weird time. It was like just before Christmas.
And it was after the hype of the last
after
movie.
the hype of the last movie. It was very strange.
It's
Anyway,
Blue Far Cry.
It's Blue Far Cry.
And if
It
you like
literally
Far
is
Cry-
Blue Far Cry.
And if you like Avatar, perfect. You're
Yeah.
going to enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe we've not played it.
Yeah, I don't know. Foam Stars.
Yeah.
I've played a little bit of Foam Stars, like 2 or 3 matches, and I played a single player mission, like that you can do to level up your.
Player missions.
Yeah, but they're sort of like they're nothing. It's not a real match. You're just sort of. So anyway,
Yeah.
Foam Stars is not Splatoon.
No, it's not.
It's not Splatoon.
It's legally distinct.
Don't even-
It's 3D.
You shut up.
You
It's
can,
not.
You can go up and down. You can't go up and down in Splatoon.
Definitely has differences from Splatoon,
Yeah.
to be fair. It also has a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Instead of swimming in the ink, you ride on a board on top of the relevant
Foam.
coloured foam. Yes, exactly. You have foam guns instead of paint guns. The objective of the
It's so
game
different.
is very different. The objective, it starts with you all like diving in on each side of the map. The objective of the mission, or the match type that I played was just basically team deathmatch. And
Right.
when I can't remember how it quite worked, but if your team was doing really well, then one of your best player was elected as VIP. Or if you were losing, your best player was elected VIP towards the end of the game. And then if your enemies managed to kill the VIP, then foam the VIP.
Drown.
Murder the VIP, then they win, or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
not entirely sure.
Okay.
Essentially, the gameplay boils down to shoot them with loads of foam,
Right.
and then you need to press the button to go on your board to like slide along. And if you hit them while they're like foamed up, Because if you hit them with enough foam, they go in like a foam ball and they're like rolling about and unable to move. Now, either an ally can hit them and they get out, or you can hit them and you kill them. Problem is that because of the nature of the game and that you're using foam guns, you are right next to the people you're shooting.
Right, yeah.
So I was never saved by any of my team members because the person who's trying to kill you wants to kill you. So as soon as they foam you up, they hit you straight away. It's a mechanic that feels pointless.
Right.
Doesn't really make much sense. There's no stakes in it.
Cool.
The matches are also over really quickly.
Really?
Like so quickly that I spent more time trying to get into a game than I did actually in the game itself. And I was like, this isn't very fun. It has weird, crazy lore. So the single player stuff that I was doing was literally just, here come waves of enemies, foam them, get them out of here. But I was playing a character called Penguin, who wears like a penguin mask.
Right, yeah.
And her
Penguin.
And yes.
So
and
good.
her mentor is a seal, like an actual picture of a seal, and just goes, oh, which I thought was quite funny.
That's very funny.
But the background lore is that this seal trained her. And they're talking to each other like they know each other.
Right.
And it's like, there's all sorts, again, I suppose, a bit like the crazy what am I trying to say?
Splatoon.
Backstory and lore of Splatoon, yeah, where it was like it's set in the human world, but everyone's
a squid now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do not think this game is going to last. I am glad that there are certainly people who are playing it and enjoying it. But the one major takeaway for me is that the music is fantastic.
Yeah, you sent me a video of an online thing of one of the music, and it was really good.
It's so good. It's like it's the Japanese funk that you would know from Persona. I implore you, go and look up the Foam Stars soundtrack and listen to it because it's really good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, the rest of the game,
it's
not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Who saw that coming?
Not me. I thought I'd give it a go, though.
I thought about giving it a go, and I thought, can I be asked to wait for it to install and then turn the game on and play the game? And I ultimately came to the conclusion, no, I couldn't be asked. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
The Skull and Bones beta.
Oh, yeah.
I played that. That game is now out, by the way. We don't know what the review scores are because it's not out
Can I
at the
make a
time of
prediction?
recording. Yes.
55.
55. Okay.
I think people will say it's boring.
Well, that's how I felt playing the beta. It's the opening portion of the game.
65.
65.
Yeah.
That's what you're going for. Okay.
It'll have an orange. It won't be green and it won't be red. It'll be orange.
Orange on Metacritic, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The orange sign of
Fine.
It's not a very pretty game.
Yeah.
By which I mean the sea looks nice, and obviously it's set in the Caribbean area, so it's like luscious and beautiful from that perspective. But the character models are not good at all. It looks like a game that was spun off from Black Flag that they've been working on for 10 years.
Crazy.
Which I think it might be.
It is, yeah.
You start by creating a character with a very limited character creator. Then you get dumped into a sort of persistent online world where it's not an MMO, but there are at least like 10 players in any given same area as you. So in the starting area, everyone's on the same crappy dinghy crashing into each other, not able to communicate at all because the text chat doesn't work. Or it didn't work in the beta. And then when you land on any kind of island or in a port, there's just like 5 or 6 people wearing identical outfits, which is just rags, ignoring each other and just running to NPCs, which the NPCs basically boil down to, you need to upgrade your ship. Why don't you go out on your crap dinghy, get some wood, and come back? And I thought what I'd have to do when it marked the wood on my map is like, get off the boat.
Yeah.
But no, you just sort of rub the boat up against the side of the shore where the wood is, and you hold a button to collect the wood. And then there was a bit where I needed to go and get some equipment from a shipwreck, and I went up to the ship, and then I pressed a button and it like loaded me into an area, and it was just, I don't know, it just felt like a weird half step between
were you a person again? Or?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So then I was running around inside the shipwreck. But I don't know if there's any hand-to-hand combat or anything.
No, I don't think there is.
You basically got an avatar that just runs. It feels like a really weird half step between an MMO and an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating combination in that I would love to know how, like, the story of this thing's development from an insider. But I played up until the point where I was able to upgrade my boat. And then I upgraded my boat and I went out and I fired cannons at loads of other boats and I sank them. And that was pretty fun. And then my boat got sunk and then I couldn't be bothered anymore because I sort of felt like I'd kind of seen it all.
Do you have to like restart after your boat gets sunk?
I think you just respawn.
Right.
You do have like repair kits that you can deploy while you're on the boat to heal the boat. But I don't know if you then have to rebuild it or pay a penalty for... Or if someone can like pick up your stuff if they sink you. I don't really know. I was fighting like AI people in the high seas and stuff. This is like Foam Stars. I think this is going to find people who are all about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just way too late.
Yeah.
The ship has sailed
literally
on this game.
Yeah.
And it's like dated visuals.
Yeah.
And I just what did Yves Guillemot call it? A quadruple A game?
Yeah.
Is what he described it as.
This game is better than any game ever made.
I disagree.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's all I'll
say.
Professional.
I asked on the community tab this week if people played the beta, if they enjoyed it, and if they'd be playing the game. Of the options, didn't play it, got like 80% of the vote, but that's how it normally is. I loved it, got 2% of the vote. Just to bear in mind, 14,000 people voted on this.
Okay.
It was fine, got 6% of the vote.
Yeah.
And I won't be playing the full game, got 11% of the vote.
Okay.
So generally people didn't like it. They didn't want to play anymore.
I'm sad, man. Like I'm a vocal critic of Ubisoft in their often copy paste world design, but I think they're in trouble. And I don't want Ubisoft to go. I don't want there to be huge job cuts. One thing actually that was really telling about this is when you start it up and it plays the intro cutscene, it like displays all the different Ubisoft studios who are involved, like one after another, like it would show credits of actors in a movie or whatever. The number of studios who worked on this game from all over the world is like unbelievable. Not only showing just how many studios Ubisoft has, but how long this thing's been in development and how many people have had to work on it. How much has been
passed around.
Yeah, this game must have cost them a fortune, like in wages alone.
I just don't really understand, having like watched gameplay and looked at it, what they were trying to do with this game. Like I thought when they first announced it, maybe it'd be a bit like a Sea of Thieves competitor.
Yeah.
Because Sea of Thieves has you obviously going around on your boat with potentially on your own or with your friends, and going to islands and killing skeletons and firing at other ships and stuff and doing treasure hunts. And admittedly, Sea of Thieves, I would prefer it to have a better fleshed out narrative story in Sea of Thieves. However, that's what I thought Skull and Bones was going to be like. And I think that's what a lot of people thought it was going to be very similar to, just a more realistic art style of like, you're in a boat, you're a captain, you sail your boat to somewhere, you do pirate jewels or whatever, and then you move on. But it's just, you're just in a boat. It's just boat sim 2024.
I was led to believe that the original pitch for this was people love Black Flag.
Yeah.
People love being a pirate.
Yeah.
Let's just make a game that's not Assassin's Creed, but basically the same as Black Flag, where you get to make your own pirate and go on an RPG
because
adventure.
The whole premise is that you're trying to become like the best
the
pirate.
king of the pirates, yeah.
But if you're not really doing any pirating other than going around in your ship and blowing other ships up, then how is it a pirate game? You could say anything, really. You could just be, you're just a captain.
I don't know how strong the narrative's going to be. Like, I have no idea.
Well, the premise is, the premise that they've put on their thing is you just sail the high seas and become the best pirate. It's basically, they're like, frame it like a mafia. You're trying to become the pirate boss, basically.
Right, but if it's online, then you're not going to be the only pirate boss, are you?
Well, no, exactly. And also, there's like a game mode you can play with 4 friends.
Okay.
But you don't all play on the same boat. You are fighting each other in like a, I can't remember the name of it. It's like a battle. Oh, there's a name for it. I can't remember.
Okay.
But you're fighting each other rather than like all as a team going to do something together.
Okay.
It's very strange. I don't want this to fail. Like you say, I don't want Ubisoft to have to let go of lots of people, but it just feels like this game hasn't got a place.
No.
It doesn't have a market, really.
It's weird.
It's weird.
I don't know at what point it became an online game.
No.
I haven't admittedly followed the development of this very closely because I wasn't a huge fan of Black Flag. I was one of the few people who didn't really enjoy that one. And I certainly wasn't interested in Skull and Bones, and obviously it's taken forever as well. But as I just said, like as far as I was aware, it was just going to be Black Flag again, but just pirates. I don't know when it became an online thing. I don't know why they've done that, because they could have made a perfectly serviceable single player, pirate RPG. Yeah. That had everything. They had all the assets there.
There's nothing like that, really. Like, you've got Black Flag, but there's nothing else where you can really be a pirate and work your way.
It's been a long time. There was some like PS3 games. Like it's been a long old time since you had
strange.
Like really weird. We'll see what the reception is to that, I suppose. A couple more things that I played, which you've also played actually. I didn't ask you about it last week. The Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo. You streamed that, didn't you?
I did. I streamed it and then I had to finish it off stream because I ran out of time and I had to go. And I when I finished it off stream, there was about 5 minutes left.
Oh, no.
I was like, damn it. I played it last week. I did enjoy it. However, I did have some issues with some bits of it.
Okay.
In the sense that I didn't love the two-person combat. I found myself getting a bit confused about what was going on the screen. There's quite a lot of verticality in the combat. Like you're going up and down quite a lot when you're fighting. You're kind of hitting. There's like a boss fight at the end, not at the end, kind of in the middle, against like a big robot dog, something like that. Robot spider, and I found myself getting a bit confused. I also couldn't figure out for a while how to get to like the synergy move, which is like the new thing they've added where you fill up your bar and then you can fight together. And one thing I did love though during the synergy move is that there's such a quick shot of Sephiroth just kind of being like swing. Like he's like,
who, me?
So hot. Yeah. And when I played it on stream, I had to pause the game because I was laughing so much. I thought it was so funny.
I knew exactly what you meant when you described it.
Yeah. And I did find a couple of the bits. We'll talk about this in question 2, so I don't want to talk about too much. But there was some obvious signposting that felt a little bit lazy. But other than that, I enjoyed the demo and I am excited for the full game. I just think maybe it was a bit intense to look at for me. Okay. I don't know why, because I don't remember the last game being that difficult to look at, but I don't know if it was just the section because I was playing as Sephiroth. I'm not sure. But yeah, I did have a little bit of an issue with it, but I did enjoy most of it and I thought it looked great as well.
It did look great. Yeah, I really liked it. And obviously nostalgia was in overdrive for me playing that section. I'm amazed the demo was as big as it was.
Yeah, it was quite chunky.
It was a lengthy demo and they're going to patch it to add more stuff to it as well. A further bit of demo, which is kind of unprecedented. I don't know if I'll play that bit as well because I think that's from later on in the game.
They're on the Segway bit, I think.
So I don't want to play that because that's from later. So I'll just leave it. But I was very impressed by it. As you said, we'll talk about some part of it in a moment. But I really like how they've adapted certain things. Sephiroth seems dangerous and scary. It gives a bit of an insight into his story as well. There's a mini game in it that was kind of unexpected that I really liked, that people have been messing around with online and just showcasing how talented people are.
It was rubbish.
Yeah, it took me a couple of goes to get it down.
I just could not. When it was fine when it was one stick was involved.
Yeah, the two sticks are hard.
The time it was the second stick, I messed up every single time. And I was doing it on stream for the first time, and I was like, I'm crap at this. I'm so bad. I was like, bling, blong, bling, and it's like missed, and I was like, damn it. Yeah. I was trying really hard.
A second go around, I nearly did the entire thing. Oh. And then you just hit that mental block where you're like, oh no,
panic.
My thumbs aren't working anymore. But the left stick, that did throw me initially. That was it was like playing a real instrument, you know. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
But I thought it was great. I was excited to finally give that a go. I was on the fence about playing it. I was like, we're so close to the release now.
Yeah, I know. I think they've almost been pushing this game too much.
I wonder if it's got kind of weak pre-orders.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I feel like
people love Final Fantasy.
Obviously, we did a sponsored stream, but I'm not saying like that is too much. But I just mean I don't know if they needed to do the demo.
No, I agree. I think it's a unique approach.
It's an interesting approach. I know they did. Did they do a demo for remake?
Don't think so. No. Oh, maybe they did, but maybe it was.
Or was it Forspoken? Was the first time they did a demo?
That was quite a big demo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that gave you a whole.
But that didn't do very good. That wasn't good for the game.
No,
hey,
wasn't.
We'll see, but I thought it was interesting that they did a demo.
I liked it. I'm so excited to play it when it comes out at the end of this month. The last thing I played is some Persona 4 Golden. I'm very close to the end now.
No more Persona 3?
I'll be returning to Persona 3. There's just too much on the horizon for now. Like I'm going to be going back to it. But Persona 4 Golden, like I'm right near the end now. And I'd love to be able to get the platinum in it for a second time after getting it in the Vita version. But unfortunately, what I have standing in my way is the Ultimate Reset Fan trophy, which is to hear 250 lines of individual battle dialogue. There's no in-game tracker. To give you an example of the kind of dialogue we're talking here, it's, there are 4 enemies left. You can do it. There are 4 enemies. Look out, 4 enemies.
How the hell?
But for each different amount of enemies, if you get hit with if you get silenced, so you can't use your persona, there's an individual line for each of those, and then for each of the other status effects as well. Honestly, it's a total crapshoot.
That is one of the worst trophies I've
ever
heard of.
It's awful. So I might abandon it before then, but that is what I have to do to get the platinum again. And finally, that's all I've been playing. I'm finally done.
Well, now it's time to head over to Review Corner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Review Corner. Welcome, Ashton.
Hello.
Review Corner. How you doing?
Good. Cozy.
Yeah, it's compact, isn't it? In the Review Corner. Peter and I were talking about how maybe
my knees are all the way up to my chin.
We should expand the Review Corner.
Absolutely.
Probably make it a bit bigger. But you've been playing something, haven't you?
I have. I'm playing it for a few weeks now. I've been playing Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. And before we get started, per ASA guidelines, we have to say this was an ad. Though when we received it from Focus Entertainment and Don't Nod, we did not receive any money.
No.
So this is just our coverage, but we have to say it's an ad.
Yes,
you know the deal.
You do.
And thank you to Focus Entertainment and Don't Nod for sending us this code. Basically, let me tell you about what the game is.
Yes, please.
You play as Antea and Red McCraith, who's Scottish.
Red McCraith?
Yes.
What a name.
It is a cool name. You are a pair of banishers who travel to New Eden, which is in the newly settled colony in America. So everyone there is English. Most of them are Northern. And you get there and you go to a town called New Eden, which is, despite it being June, is suffering with kind of a constant winter. And you've been called in by your friend Charles Davenport, who's called you in. He's a banisher, and he said, something's going on here. I need some additional help. You get there. Charles is dead.
No.
He's died. This isn't a spoiler. It happens literally immediately.
Okay.
He's dead, and you find out that the town is being kind of held hostage by a nightmare, which is like a super powerful ghost. And it's up to us to try and deal with the ghost. Some stuff happens. Now, this isn't a spoiler because it's in all of the trailers and the marketing material. Antea is dead for the majority of the game.
Right.
She dies very early on, and her spirit is with you instead of her actual body. And I have to tell you that because I can't really explain the gameplay without talking about the fact that she is a spirit.
Okay.
Because it changes the way that the world looks and what you can do with the game. Essentially, it is a third person, over the shoulder, relatively linear in the way that it plays, single player narrative adventure. You are playing as Red McCraith for the vast majority of the game, and you can fight the ghoulies and the spectres that appear as you go through. They're just kind of like spooky ghosts that are like human, kind of white, see-through slightly. There's various types of ghosts that have different abilities. It's like a blue one that's really fast and does like multiple attacks. There is a green one that can make other enemies invulnerable and also spits things at you. And all of these enemies can, if there's one nearby, jump into a corpse and reanimate themselves. They don't look like a dead body. They just kind of have like skeletal armor on.
Okay.
And they kind of give themselves armor, so they buff themselves a little bit as you go through. Okay. So there is quite a lot of combat in the game as you go through. There is like the odd encounter that will just come round a corner and you can fight some ghosts. There is sometimes, there's like a basically as you go through, it gets linear relatively to a point, then it becomes kind of bigger sections, a bit like your God of Wars and your Last of Us 2s, in that like it's linear, funnels you down, and then it opens up a little bit and you can go and do other things. There's things you're going to have to come back to later on once you've unlocked abilities and or gained equipment as you go through. I think I'm about either 3/4 or halfway through now. It's kind of been on and off playing it because I've been quite busy, but I've played a decent amount of it. But yeah, you funnel through these areas, and then there's various things that you can come back and do later. There's like spectre nests where you have to clear out all the enemies to clear out a nest. You get some extra equipment for that. There is scourges that are like big boss enemies that you fight in the story, and then they'll be appearing again throughout the world. There's like void walks where you enter like a different dimension and you have to fight your way through the dimension, and that also spits you out somewhere else in the map. So you use those to kind of get around once you figure out where they take you. And all of this is done by doing rituals. So there'll be like an orange circle on the floor that your ring will light up and be like, there's a ritual you can do nearby. You have to pick the correct ritual even, which you've been collecting kind of resources for as you go through. And if you pick the wrong one, you just lose the resource, and then you have to pick the right one. There's sometimes the spectre nests and the scourges, I'm never sure which one I'm supposed to do, and I nearly always do the wrong one first. But it's only maybe like 2 bits of stuff that you lose out on. I've only, I think, once not had enough resources to do a ritual, and I've literally just wandered around for a bit, found the thing, and then gone back to it. There's various collectibles and equipment as you get through. But essentially, the premise is Antea has died. She's been killed, and her tie to the mortal realm is her body. Right. And Red is swept away by the ocean and ends up far away from New Eden. And while he was unconscious, people who lived in the town have moved out of the town to try and find safety. But the entire area is cursed by this nightmare. It's drawing in so much supernatural energy that everywhere is infested with these spectres and ghosts. And despite them moving away from it towards Boston, it's impossible for them to go around safely because there's these ghostly scourges that are essentially made up of scourges, these big monsters that are made up of many souls that have been lost and have notions of revenge or something bad's happened to them. And essentially the premise is that everyone's got these secrets, something's gone on, something is spurring on these ghosts to come back and seek revenge. Basically, as you go through, you are either doing the linear adventure progression or you are doing haunting cases. Obviously that is your job. You are someone who is dealing with hauntings, and Antea can, because she is dead, she can see things that you can't. So you essentially press triangle to change into Antea, and her vision of the world is different to Red's vision of the world. She can like take off a spiritual shrouding in her world, which then creates a chest in our world to get some stuff off.
And do you like toggle between them instantaneously?
Literally, yeah. And also during combat, you hit with R1 does a light attack, R2 does a big attack. You get a gun that's pretty OP, actually, to be fair. And then you can switch to Antea in combat. She does more damage against enemies with the armor on. So you use her to take the armor off, and then you switch to Red to kill the Spectre. She has certain ghostly abilities that help fighting them. You can kind of zip around as her, but she has like a spirit meter. So every fight that she does, every punch she does, lowers that meter. So eventually it's non-existent, and you have to play as Red. In order to get spirit back, you have to take these like drinks that you only have 3 of.
Right.
So you can change to her whenever you want to. Normally for things like climbing, it'll switch back to him and he'll do the climbing, and then you can do her when she's walking around. But that's really clever, and kind of one of the reasons I couldn't tell you that she was still alive, because
yes, it's a significant
so she allows you to see into the spirit world to get extra clues. You can follow like ghostly spectres to find hauntings. She can like yeet you across caverns.
Right.
So there's like certain, she's like, I can see all these these like stains on the world, and then you switch to her, and if you find the right location, you press L1 and she basically like zips across a canyon. And I don't know the logistics of how Red gets there.
Wow.
But
just don't think
I like to imagine that he just gets thrown, and anyone can just see him just be thrown across a canyon. By a ghost.
Brilliant.
But yeah, and then you've got these haunting cases where I actually think these are really interesting, and I kind of wish they did a little bit more with them, because you are in an area and it's like, oh, this woman's being haunted. You have to find out who is haunting them, why they're there, what their tie is, and how you can get rid of them.
Right.
And once you figured that out, you are given the option to avenge them, which is kill the person, because normally they're linked because of some bad thing that's happened.
Right.
You can either banish them or you can ascend them as ghosts. So you can banish them to what I would assume is hell, or you can ascend them to what I might assume is heaven. They don't know where they go, but they're just two different ways of dealing with the ghosts. Very early on in the game, you make a decision that affects the end of the game.
Okay.
Regarding Antea and what to do with her.
Is that clearly signposted at that point in the game?
It's you are having a conversation. It's almost the very first haunting case you encounter once Antea has died. So it's really, really early on. You are given an option, and essentially your choices are to ascend or banish ghosts, or kill all the people you encounter in these haunting cases.
Right, feels like a pretty good guy.
You can do the other thing at any point once you've made this decision. You can still pick the opposite option than what you're doing, but if you don't kill everyone, one of the options will not work.
Okay.
And it affects how the end of the game plays. It doesn't matter what you do after you've made this decision. That is what your end goal is to do. And you do that at various points throughout the game, is these haunting cases. And you can go back to an area once you've left it, and there might be a new haunting that's appeared later on. I do wish they did more of those. I would kind of almost like them to be more puzzly and have more of a step into, like, you are trying to solve this yourself. We're not just going to give you the information. Whereas it's like, you can see it's clearly signposted. This is the thing that once you pick it up, this will be the motive of the ghost. And I kind of wish they'd leaned into that a little bit more, because I think that's a really interesting thing that they do with it. But yeah, I think that the game is really, really interesting. Some of the the facial movement is a bit weird and doesn't always link up, and I think given their previous games, I was quite surprised that some of the voice acting and mouth movements are quite so janky. But I've been enjoying my time with it. I think that potentially it might be a little bit samey for large portions of the game. Sometimes it can feel like it's kind of just around another corner, hit some ghosts, around another corner, hit some ghosts. But there is enough, I think, distinction from areas and progression that I think does make it interesting. You upgrade your equipment by finding resources. You have skill points, but the skill points aren't a massive tree. Everything has maybe 2 branches off it, and you can only pick one of the 2 skills on the first section and one of the 2 skills on the second section. So you can never have all of the skills for one thing. So you have to pick how you play and what things that you think will benefit you, whether you think a heavy attack, more damage would be beneficial, or more health when you do a hit would be beneficial. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting game, and I think the mechanics with the spirit fighting and the spirit realm is really interesting. And I think if you like the look of it and you weren't sure, I would recommend giving it a go, because I think it's pretty good stuff, I think, from it. And it was also quite good looking as well. So
what are the story and characters like? Is it good? Because that's what I would want from a game from these guys.
Antea and Red are really interesting characters. She is his master. She taught him everything he knows. He was her apprentice. And also they're in love with each other. So there's this whole thing of she's dead. He knows that he can bring her back, but it's whether he should bring her back. And their whole thing is life for the living, death for the dead. And that's their main motto as Banishers. Red's a bit softer on it, and we find that out very early on. And Taya's very much like, you're dead, banish. You're dead, banish. Whereas he's like, hey, hey, hey. No.
A little bit of a grey area.
But the story is really interesting. You're trying to find out what these people have done to deserve this haunting, because hauntings happen to people because they deserve it. And as you go through the hauntings, everyone who's being haunted, there is a very clear reason why this person is haunting them, because of something they've done. And there's underlying themes of like guilt and like blame, and how much that affects the ghosts that are hanging on, and how much this nightmare is bringing back for people to deal with. And there's very like morally grey areas of like, is this the right, have they done the right thing? Because was it for the greater good that this thing happened? But yeah, so this is really interesting. And I think that the story so far I have found really interesting. There's also witches. There's witches.
Love witches.
Love witches. But yeah, I think it's great. If you want to kind of see the first 2 hours-ish, check out the stream from this week, because I played a bunch of it. Yep. But you'll have seen some footage if you're watching the podcast. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So hopefully I'll finish it, and you'll hear more about it in the next few weeks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ashton.
Should we go back to the podcast now?
Yes, let's.
Time for question 2 now, which comes from Retro Robin. Hi, Bat.
Hello.
It's just Bat today, actually.
Bah.
The dreaded yellow paint debate seems to have returned recently, and I wondered your thoughts on the issue, as well as people's anger about it. Personally, I just see it as part of modern game design that, yes, could be toned down, but that ultimately makes my time playing certain games a bit more streamlined and points me in the right direction when I need it. It's also great for accessibility for others who need it. I do think there's a happy medium somewhere of having a slider of on or off options for the paint, but of course this needs implementation, and levels need to be designed to work both with and without the paint. Robin. Hearts emoji.
Thank you, Robin.
So this is in response to the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo, because there is a bit in the demo, kind of midway through, where you're instructed to climb up the side of a mountain to get to where you need to go.
They've added climbing now.
They've added climbing, which is fine.
Very limited climbing, only in specific places.
But they have done the typical video game thing of big yellow bars as to where Cloud can climb up.
Yeah.
And there's been lots of discussion about this in the past. It is definitely a modern trend that we've been seeing lots of, and feels almost unavoidable now. In terms of the yellow paint. I asked about this in the community tab, and people got angry at us for asking it, as if we were like,
it's good,
stoking the fire. We just asked what people's opinions were. So I won't read them out, because you were mean to me on the
Someone
comments.
apparently unsubscribed.
Yeah,
because I asked
they thought. What your opinion is.
Like, how dare you unsubscribe?
Apparently that was a question too far.
Hey, people are reasonable.
People are so normal and reasonable. But yeah, so in terms of this debate, I do think that there is sometimes too much. And I think this example of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is too much.
Okay.
I think that they have a game that has literally got markers on the floor when you can go in somewhere to tell you can shimmy through small gaps and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that would have been enough, but I just think that like it's brazenly just like big yellow line about like where you can climb up the mountain. And I know that this is accessible, and I'm not saying it should not be there. I just think perhaps developers need to create some kind of in-game reason, or like just a little bit of set design that makes it not look so blaringly, this is a video game. Because I know I'm playing a video game, and I know that there is, gonna be times where it's not always the most clear thing to climb up. One example somewhere that I think does it really well is the Horizon franchise. Now, obviously this is different because they're a post-apocalyptic world, but when you can climb on something, normally it's a bit of metal and it's kind of fadedly painted yellow because it's a bit of a robot that was yellow when it was created, so you can climb up there. Or it's handholds that were placed in there by somebody who climbed the mountain before. Or in the more recent one, you press a button and the mountain, the like vision thing you have shows you on the mountain where things are climbable. I know that that's not necessarily the most accessible option. And in terms of accessibility, I'm not saying that this needs to be turned off, because it is very helpful for people with vision impairments and it's very useful in many ways. However, I do think that sometimes it is a bit of a cop-out. If you have created something, a climbing mechanic or a way to go that is not inherently clear that that is where you have to go and that is where you should climb up, I think it is a cop-out to just paint it yellow and be like, yeah, see? Easy to climb up.
Up you go.
Yeah, I think I should be able to figure it out without giant blocks of yellow.
Yeah.
That is my personal opinion. It doesn't take me out of the experience entirely. I just wish there was just a little bit more thought gone into it, personally.
Obvious accessibility reasons why that's in there.
Yeah.
It did not even register to me that there was yellow paint in this game, which is either a damning indictment of the prevalence of this as a trope, in that it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I've just sort of tuned it out of my brain, like, okay, I go that way, and not even thought about it. Or it's just that maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because I understand people's frustration. And I think most of the conversation, like the whole reason it came about on Twitter, I think was just sort of people were joking like, oh no, the yellow paint virus is back again. Because I think that it also most recently happened in one of the Resi remakes, where there's a ladder that's just yellow.
Yeah.
It's got like yellow paint all down. It's like, why have you done that? It's
Yeah.
obviously a ladder.
Yeah.
This doesn't bother me at all. And I understand why people are bothered by it. I'm more annoyed by the shimmy through a rock face to hide a loading screen thing. That annoys me more than yellow paint. And there's that literally just before and after the yellow climbing in this game. Also, it's not Breath of the Wild. You can't climb everything.
Yeah.
So clear signposting is really appreciated. Yes, it could be more subtle.
Yes.
I agree, it could definitely be more subtle. For me, it doesn't really bother me.
No.
And
I would never bring it up. Like, I wouldn't be the person to be like, wow, that yellow paint's crazy.
Yeah.
But if someone was to like say, if someone asked me what I think about it, this is what I'll tell you. But I wouldn't be the one to be like, that yellow paint is too much. That's ridiculous.
This is
like,
a rubbish
I wouldn't start the
game.
conversation, you know?
Some people are like that, though,
I know.
which is bonkers. If it takes you out of the experience, that's a real shame. And that is a failing on the behalf of the developers.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that for me. I'm not taken out of it by that. And also in the original Final Fantasy VII that had these pre-rendered painted backgrounds, sometimes it was really hard to tell where doors were and what you could and couldn't go through. There was a button, you press the select button, and it would put on-screen indicators of things you could interact with in the world. And I played most of the game like that. Not once did it take me out of the experience.
No.
Yes, it would have been nice to be able to work out where to go without it.
But that's a toggle on and off.
You're right. And I think Robin's onto something by potentially them putting it in there as an option. But honestly, as Robin also says, sometimes if because it's not a huge open world game.
No.
Because it's not like Breath of the Wild in that there's only one path up the mountain you can take, for example. I'd rather not faff about for 20 minutes jumping on stuff and trying to work out where to go. That's obviously me being a little bit melodramatic, but I just honestly, it's a conversation we're having because it's kind of blowing up at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna plant my flag in the ground and say I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy thing to get upset about.
Yeah.
It's worth discussing if it's ruining your enjoyment of a game. But it's so small.
Yeah.
It's such a minor thing.
Like I say, I'm never going to write a letter to the developer
think
and
you
tell him
should.
it's wrong. Maybe I will, just for the first time ever. But
Your MP.
yeah, I just think that sometimes it's not even a matter of like taking me out of the immersion in like intensely. It's more the point of just, I feel like,
how stupid do you think I am?
Yeah,
kind of thing,
I don't know if I made the comment on the stream or not, or if I just thought it in my head. But I think I went, I wonder where I have to climb up, because there's obviously these big yellow bars. And also, Sephiroth had literally just gone, go up there. That's where you have to go. And I was like,
Video games are full of tropes anyway.
They are.
Right? Like the squeezing through thing. Every time I went through that, I'd probably come in like, oh, it's another one of these bloody squeeze through things. But it's not going to be like, this game's crap.
No, exactly. I don't think it's going to be bad.
It's just a video game thing, you know?
But it's also like in Banishers of New Eden, there's these crates that you can smash and barrels that are painted with like a faded yellow paint.
Inexcusable.
Because you can
rubbish
hit them.
Game.
It's not a rubbish game. But in my opinion, it doesn't need that because, one, doesn't make sense why everything's painted yellow. We're in Victorian England, if not even earlier than the Victorians. Not in England, we're settling in America.
Okay.
Like, it's hundreds of years old. I don't know if yellow paint was as readily available there, that everything was painted yellow. And also, I can very clearly smash these boxes up because they're everywhere. They all look the same and they're all already half smashed up. And I know that it's an accessibility thing, but I just don't think it needs it. And I just think maybe sometimes we could just reel it back a smidge. Mm-hmm. You don't have to cover everything in yellow paint. We can figure it out ourselves. They do it in New Eden where if you can climb up something, there is the yellow paint on the rock faces.
Okay.
Which I don't think it needs either, because there's also normally a lantern at the bottom with a yellow cloth on a little stool, as if someone's like climbed up there before and they've left the lantern down there.
Yeah.
I then don't think you also need to paint the rock face yellow.
Probably not.
I just think that maybe a slider would be good for people who really get annoyed by it. It's never been something that's made me think a game is bad. It's never been something that I have tweeted about and been like, what is this rubbish? I just will see it and I'm like, cool, I can climb up there. It doesn't bother me in a way that makes me angry. I just think sometimes I would like to see just contextually something that makes a bit more sense to tell me where to go than just cover it in yellow paint. I do think it's a bit of a cop-out sometimes.
I think they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah.
If they took it out, people would complain about the accessibility. If they keep it in, people are going to complain that it's too obvious.
I agree. There is no
but an option.
There has to be a happy medium.
If you make all yellow paint ledges on one like layer of a game, like as a Photoshop document, and you just toggle that on and on. Have fun getting lost in your games, idiots. Yeah. You'll be lost without your yellow paint. I can't even get to work without the yellow paint.
No, that's
got yellow paint on my door handle.
We've had to put yellow paint all over the front
I have to follow
door.
a line to work.
Yeah.
If you like scrubbed it out and went, I'd just follow it.
Yeah.
I'd follow it anywhere.
It's happened before.
Like at a hospital.
After a street cleaning.
I'm doomed.
It's doomed.
I just cycle in a straight line until I hit a building.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It is terrible.
Yeah. It's a nothing issue.
Another example of a good way.
Mm.
Again, in Banishers, is that if there's a ledge you can climb up, it has, you know, when rocks have got that like white kind of like they've got like plants that have gone away and it's got like white
sort of like sun bleached kind of.
Yeah, and like when like ivy's climbed on it and it's kind of like crackled the stone a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got that and kind of freckles of like yellow left over as well. Mm-hmm. So you can obviously climb it. But in the context of the game, makes complete sense as to why this ledge is very obviously a different color.
Okay.
And is worn down to be able to climb up. Context. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking. It's just a little bit of context.
That's fair enough.
But I won't get upset, I promise. And I will not be writing any emails regarding the yellow paint.
Maybe you will.
That you know of.
We'll see. It's time to move on to something a little bit peculiar.
A little bit strange, perhaps.
It's weird news. It's weird news time for some weird video game news. Remember, you can submit weird. Oh, God. I used to be really good at this section, didn't I?
You did.
Tell them how good I was. I was well good.
You used to be so good. You were
I'm
the
getting
best
in my own head. I'm getting in my own head about it. There's just so many words to remember on the fly.
Yeah.
What I was about to say is, if you'd like to submit some weird video game news to us, you can reply underneath the relevant post on whatever social media platform you choose on a Tuesday and let us know there. However, if you'd like to guarantee a shout out at this point in the podcast, go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump, support us at the appropriate tier, and become a podcast producer just like
Chip Thompson Sums,
G.Y. Goliath,
Nexus Polaris,
Nicole Hansen,
Kyle Gary,
Andy Scott,
Blake Thomas,
Lockie Morris,
Shaman Nomo,
Great Giggity,
Melody Elbonet,
Katie Garrett,
Gabrielle Philipping,
Potato Shack 99,
Eric Siu,
and Big Money Bobby Vega. Big Money Bobby Vegas. Thank you so much, podcast
Thank you,
producers.
podcast producers.
You got some weird news.
I do. It was submitted by Nathan Metcalf at Hunter E. Claris on Twitter. Comes from Metro. Game Central. It doesn't say who it was written by. It was written by no one. Oh. King Charles owns half the Discworld video game rights, so a remaster is up to him.
Oh.
Yeah.
How?
I'll tell you.
Please do.
A peculiarity of UK law means that if there's going to be a remaster of the
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Discworld video game.
Yeah.
It needs the agreement of the Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Many may not remember that there were 3 different Discworld video games released in the 90s, with Eric Idle voicing Rincewind the Wizard for the first 2, and other famous voice actors such as Rob Brydon, John Pertwee, and Tony Robinson also involved. Terry Pratchett was a fan of the games, and while he only had a limited input on the trilogy, he did seem to approve of them. But after his death and the collapse of the British developer Perfect Entertainment, the games were largely forgotten and have never been re-released or remastered since. It seems there are very specific reasons for that, though. According to British law, if the original rights holder has been defunct for more than 10 years, then 50% of the rights revert to the original creator and 50% revert to the Crown.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, England makes no sense. The writer and director for the first 2 games was Greg Barnett, who's now in possession of half of the rights that don't belong to King Charles. This has led to talks with unnamed publishers about re-releasing the game. The original publisher was Psygnosis. It was the G in there threw me off. Which was bought by Sony before any of the games were released, but that doesn't seem to be the issue when it comes to the rights. There has been discussions and something may be happening down the track, a re-release or remaster, but it's obviously a complicated process when you're dealing with the Crown, Barnett told the Time Extension website. It may happen, and it could advance to new versions of them. And again, I said I would like to do a new Discworld game, but beyond all the stuff that may or may not happen, like the old versions, it's just going to be hard to get the rights to do anything in the new Discworld universe at the moment. And that's it. Yeah, because of some weird British law, King Charles owns half the rights to the Discworld games.
But King Charles loves Dickworld. So surely a remaster is on the horizon.
But he's got bigger fish to fry at the moment.
I don't care about that. So is he like, if he does sign off on it, does he get like a credit in the credits? Like
maybe
a huge thanks.
Would it be like property of
dedicated to our friend King
Dave
Charles
Barnett and
King Charles?
King Charles III.
Is he the third?
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Pretty sure.
King Charles.
HRH.
His Royal
Highness King Charles III.
Executive producer
of Dickworld.
What a resume.
What a resume.
Okay, I've got some weird news as well.
Yeah.
It's haunting photo time. This comes courtesy of James Matthews on Facebook and Trivia Apostle at Ariel_Kent on Twitter. This is an article from Kotaku written by Zach Svisen. He's back again.
And he's not in trouble this time.
No. Palworld costumes are here and oh god, oh no is their headline. Now you can dress up as your favorite legally distinct monsters from that game that isn't Pokemon. Would you like to see them?
I've seen them.
There they are.
They're horrible. I think the issue isn't the costumes, it's the masks.
It's basically just a morph suit, like a skin-tight morph suit.
Yeah, up until the neck.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like...
It's just like a foam mask that sits on the front of your face like you have an elastic band around the back.
But it looks like there's some kind of bag over their head.
Yeah, they're wearing like like how Spider-Man's head bit mask, that's what it's called, like tucks into the neck of his suit. That's kind of what's going on here.
It's a bit strange.
Except... Yeah, there's no detail on the head morph suit bit.
No,
it's got a foam bit on the front, which is the face of the... Anyway, Pokemon with Guns, a.k.a. Palworld, is a massive hit, and a lot of kids and teenagers are enjoying the open-world survival crafting game, and also Ben.
Just kids and teenagers.
It's a bit dismissive, isn't it? It's likely to be a popular source of inspiration for this year's Halloween costumes. I don't think so. And so, as expected, some companies are already producing unofficial merch that might end up on someone knocking on your door for candy later this fall. Yeah, that's this year, isn't it? Ages away.
We're in fall now.
I can't believe that the merch is unofficial. We're so many layers deep here. The game feels like unofficial Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then someone's making knockoff merch.
Of knockoff Pokemon.
Of knockoff Pokemon.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
Good stuff.
It then tells us what Palworld is.
Consumerism is great.
Palworld?
Palworld?
Yes.
Yeah.
Palworld, like so many other hit video games, has knockoff costumes for sale on a few different websites. On Reddit, someone spotted these full body get-ups, which are currently for sale on AliExpress for, guess how much?
£5.
$20.
Whoa!
It's not that much still, though, is it?
Just kidding. I don't know the exchange rate.
It's like 17 quid now. Our economy is good.
We're literally, as of this morning, in a recession.
These look like costumes from the 80s you pick up at a drugstore because you forgot tomorrow was Halloween and your kids wear it begrudgingly because, well, they still want candy. Sure does, Zach. VG247 found similar or possibly the exact same costumes on it. Which one is it? Is it the same?
They probably are from
eBay?
the same distributor.
They are priced at $22.
They're probably the exact same costume, but just listed at a different website. And sold from the same place.
Probably. Another site seems to be selling at least one of these costumes, specifically the yellow Grisbolt variant. It's priced at around $38. Why are we...
I wonder if... You know how when it's a legally
here?
distinct Halloween costume,
Yeah.
it'll be like Plumber Man and it's Mario. I wonder if the legally distinct Palworld names, like that Grisbolt, is like Pikachu. Because it's not technically...
I see.
thing.
So to get around Palworld coming for them, they just use
they
the
use
actual
Pikachu.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's pretty smart.
Yeah, big brain plays.
Huge big brain plays there. That's my weird news. You can now purchase some cursed Palworld costumes if you would like to. You know, now
Yeah.
to me, do whatever you want. It's time, Ashton.
To go forward in time.
Let's change clothes. It's big discussion time. It's big discussion time. Time for the big discussion, which this week comes courtesy of Jack Bradshaw, who said, it's actually on my phone. I don't have it on the thing. That's actually why I unlocked my phone just before we started recording.
By something else.
Yes. Here I go.
Okay. It's coming.
It says, ahoy hoy bap, hope you're well. What are your guys' thoughts on the Xbox Future event that happened yesterday?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jack. As you can tell, if you're watching the video version, we've hopped forwards in time, changed clothes. Mm-hmm. My hair's longer now than it was yesterday.
My hair's cleaner now than it was yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. So's mine, actually. But it's now Friday at the time of recording. Last night, the Xbox podcast went out. It was only like 22 23 minutes.
Long, yeah.
It was not very long. When I woke up and I'd subscribed to the podcast feed before going to bed, even though it was 8 p.m, so I could have watched it live, but I didn't have time. And I was going to listen to it on my way in this morning. And I saw it. I was like, oh, man, this is either really good or really bad. And it turns out that it was basically, as our very own James Jenkins put it, this could have been an email.
Absolutely could
kind
have
of thing.
been. I don't know why they did a podcast, but we'll get into that in a minute.
We'll get into that in a minute. I have a feeling it's, again, jumping the gun here by discussing it slightly early. I have a feeling it's because of the furor surrounding the rumors, and then it just kept getting escalated and escalated, and people were losing their minds, as we talked about last week on the podcast, selling their Xboxes and stuff. I think maybe the opportunity to talk directly.
That guy's going to feel so stupid.
He's going to feel a bit daft now, yes.
Lol.
But the opportunity to probably like, okay, these guys are spiraling. We need to talk to them. However, they probably could have done it a bit sooner.
I think they could have too.
They could have put out a statement straight away anyway.
Yeah, they had to corporate clarify what they were going to say, and
That's
that
true.
probably took a week.
The most interesting thing to me from the podcast is that Phil said that when we were first planning this conversation back in December, it's like it took you from December to plan this
a 20-minute
conversation.
Yeah, good stuff.
Obviously, they weren't planning that whole time, but I just thought that was quite illuminating that this was always they were always intending to talk to the audience, but someone let slip at some point, and it's just like snowballed into, oh my god, Xbox is imploding. Which of course, we bought into as well. We didn't necessarily buy into it, but we were reporting on it alongside everybody else. It turns out, don't worry.
Everything's chill.
It's fine. So the major takeaways from that, we've got some quotes and a couple of articles from VGC that I'll read from, and you will read from in a second. But the major takeaways here are that yes, only four though, Xbox exclusives will be releasing on other platforms. There are no plans for the likes of Starfield or Indiana Jones or Gears of War. to make that leap. Nope. Future first-party titles will continue to release on Game Pass day one. Diablo 4 will be the first Activision Blizzard King game coming to Game Pass. That will be on the 28th of March. Xbox is not leaving the console space with future consoles planned, and there are now 34 million paid Game Pass subscribers, with most growth being seen on the PC platform. So this very much felt like initially, certainly, probably back in December, the podcast was planned as, hey, we're thinking about the future of Xbox and we want to bring some titles to other platforms. Yeah. Here's how we're going to go about it and here's why. But this felt like damage control, the podcast this time. Like, hey, guys, don't worry. We're not going anywhere.
But it did also feel very genuine. Like, listening to it, I was like, everything they're saying is very much like, it's very honest. Like Phil Spencer is always kind of known for
Uncle Phil came across really well in
your
this
best
thing.
friend and mine, Phil Spencer.
Yes.
Is very honest, and they definitely, from a perspective of like seeing all of the companies, especially with what came out from Embracer last night. Jesus Christ!
Do you want to give a quick abridged version?
They
of that?
basically released a statement being like, "Oh well, we've got to keep our shareholders Our intent has always been to keep our shareholders' best interests at heart."
Yeah.
Basically, like the millionaires are the people who they want to give money to. They don't care about people who lose their jobs. Anyway, and then Xbox come out and Spencer's saying, "Oh well, we could have made more money from people, but we didn't really want to do that. We wanted to make games that are good and people enjoy." And I know that it's just, again, he's a CEO of a major company, so of course he can't be like, "Well, we just wanted more money," but. But like Xbox have always, I think, been way more transparent with what they're doing and what their opinion is than Sony have. So
no, I totally agree. I think they all came across very well, and as you said, it was planned probably to the word what everyone was saying in that thing. But I do think Phil Spencer has a knack for feeling like man of the people, Phil Spencer. Yeah. Even though he is a big corporate man.
Millionaire.
What was it that you said a second ago? It got me thinking about a point that I was going to try and make about how they could have made more money elsewhere. Oh, yeah. That was it's worth listening to the whole podcast, by the way. It's really short. It's not going to take you much time. We'll give our thoughts and recount some bits in a second. But he does say, like, when we're looking at trying to, moving forward in the games industry, do we just hold on to the people that we have already, or do we try and open that up to other people? Like, and one of the things he said about holding on to the existing audience was, do we just try and work out new ways to monetize that audience and try and get money from them? Yeah. Or do we open it up to other people as well? Now, obviously, even if you do open it up to other people, you're still going to try and monetize everyone the same way.
But you're not bleeding your fan base dry.
But exactly, there's a way there's a very clever way that he said that to, give the impression. And I'm sure to an extent, he personally feels this way, that, you don't want to nickel and dime your core audience. You don't want to do that. Especially with the model that they've gone for with Game Pass, that is a very expensive model to get off the ground. Yeah. It's great to hear that it's doing really well. Happy to see that. Shall I read this article here?
Yes, please.
This goes into detail about the games, what are or aren't coming. He didn't actually say what the games are.
He basically said that, like, he wanted to let the companies tell us themselves. So I imagine when we get like a thing in June, because they're doing a showcase in June as normal, we'll get this game now coming to PlayStation as well.
And Switch.
Soon. Yeah. And that's when we'll find out for sure. But there is obviously some speculation as to which ones are coming. Two of the ones I thought of last night when he was talking are on the rumoured list.
I was about to say the exact same thing. When I was walking in and I was listening, I was like, okay, so he said that it's two sort of like community games is what he called them, and I was like, okay, so that's probably Sea of Thieves and Grounded, and two smaller titles. I didn't think of
Grounded, but I thought of Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, but then I couldn't think of what the other two.
Because he said the other two were smaller games.
Yeah, there was two single-player smaller games, and then he said two community-driven games, which Grounded and Sea of Thieves are. Which Sea of Thieves was always kind of rumored already, so
it was. Grounded wasn't, but it again, the reasoning if it is those games, makes perfect sense to open up the player pool and make sure that those games have a bigger future.
Because he said that some of these games were never intended to be single platform, and they just happened to end up that way. So now they're not going to be like that anymore.
Yeah. Based on the rumors that we'd heard, when I was walking in, I thought, okay, so those first two are probably Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, and the other two are Sea of Thieves and, maybe Grounded is the other one they have.
I've completely forgotten about Grounded.
So did I.
Until just now, when I saw it on the piece of paper.
But then I came in and I was looking at, the write-ups and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I'll do it. I'll do it. I mean, there aren't that many community-driven games they have, to be fair. But even so, let's read this article from VGC.
Yes.
Microsoft has confirmed that 4 unnamed Xbox exclusives will be released on other console platforms such as PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch. According to The Verge sources corroborated by VGC, these games will be Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. The news was announced as part of a new podcast designed to give an update on plans for the Xbox business going forward, in which gaming boss Phil Spencer claimed the decision had been made to ensure the long-term health of Xbox. In the podcast, Spencer said that Starfield and Indiana Jones, titles previously reported to be in consideration for PlayStation 5, would not be going multi-platform. In a separate interview with The Verge, the exec said that he wouldn't rule out the possibility for these titles to arrive on PS5 in the future. And as a quote here, I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform.
He said, didn't he say in 5 years' time, he thinks that there won't be such a thing as exclusive?
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
That's kind of what
You've got to convince the Japanese companies first, and that might be a bit more of a challenge. To ensure the long-term success for both Xbox and the industry as a whole, we must continue to evolve, Xbox said in a statement. Today, we announced that we will expand the communities we reach. We are currently in the process of bringing 4 Xbox games to other platforms. These are titles which have been available to Xbox players for at least a year, including hidden gems that deserve to be experienced more widely, and live service games whose communities will benefit from welcoming even more players. We will share more details on these titles soon. It continued, by bringing these games to more players, we not only expand the reach and impact of those titles, but this will allow us to invest in other future versions of these games or elsewhere in our first-party portfolio. There is no fundamental change to our approach on exclusivity. Phil Spencer said, we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our fundamental exclusivity strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind, and the long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, and reaching as many platforms as we can. Asked how Microsoft chose the 4 specific titles, Spencer replied, we looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games, kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, let's say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth, franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. On the 2 service-based games going multi-platform, likely Sea of Thieves and Grounded, Spencer said that the move would give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. On the 2 smaller games, likely Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, the exec said, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those so equals to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. He continued, we think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see those 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not, and we're going to learn.
I think also this is interesting, and I'll carry on in a second. But I think it's interesting that this has become such a massive deal in terms of people freaking out, given that this is essentially what Sony does, but putting games on PC.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We've seen Horizon Zero Dawn eventually came on to a PC after a few years. God of War, The Last of Us. Admittedly, some of the PC ports have been a bit jank.
Yes.
But I think it's interesting that they're doing very similar now, but on the reverse side of things. Anyway.
Interim PlayStation boss as well, Hiroki Totoki, which is such a good name. I'm never going to get tired of saying that name.
Fantastic name.
He has iterated or reiterated or doubled down, I suppose, that porting first-party games to PC is going to be a major thrust for PlayStation going forward. So
it has to be.
Yeah. I mean, they're clearly seeing good value in doing that. So that's, it's just going to keep happening, I think.
Yes. Carrying on, Xbox says its console will remain the flagship experience and the only place for Game Pass. Xbox has pledged that its console will continue to be the best way to play its games, and that access to these games will not be removed in the near future. As part of its statement on the future of the Xbox business, an article on the Xbox blog states that Xbox consoles will continue to provide a flagship experience for players. It also notes that Game Pass will continue to be only available on Xbox platforms, essentially shooting down suggestions that it may come to PlayStation or Nintendo systems in the future. We figured as much. The statement also appears to dismiss concerns that players' Xbox libraries will be shut down in the future, saying the company's commitment to game preservation is unwavering. Xbox players should have confidence in building your digital library in the Xbox ecosystem, it says. We will continue to reward with the most robust, player-friendly experience, including backwards compatibility, cross-play, cross-save progression, convenient cloud gaming, and more. Xbox do that so well. They do cloud gaming and cloud saves so well. Yeah. So much better than Sony's setup and their whole system with cloud saves. And I think they have the right to brag about their ability.
They absolutely should.
And the same with backwards compatibility as well. The fact that that PlayStation 4 versions of games and PlayStation 5 versions of games are not compatible with one another in terms of you have to play games separately. They have two separate trophy systems and everything. And the fact that you can go back and play an Xbox One game on your current Xbox and it have absolutely no issues
360
whatsoever.
A lot of 360
games exactly. It's brilliant. And they're good at that, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very good at that. Again, it feels like a putting out a fire statement. Not a question we probably ever would have asked just a few weeks ago. And now with all the rumors swirling, they've had to come out and say Game Pass is not going on any other platforms for now. Although just before this came out, I don't know if you saw the news story. I'll stick it in the link dump if I remember. That reportedly Xbox staff were told that any device with a screen is an Xbox.
Well, they did a lot of discussion during the podcast about the fact that the Xbox will be the best place to play a game, but they want someone to be able to play Xbox games on every device.
Yes.
They're very aware of the fact that we're going into an age where everything will be able to run everything. Our phones can cloud stream Xbox games as well as any PC as long as it's got a good internet connection. And they're very aware of that fact. And then we saw lots of stock footage of, I'm playing Xbox on my phone. I'm playing it on my computer. Mine's on my laptop. We saw a lot of that during the podcast itself.
Did they show that? I listened to it. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, they showed a bunch of stock footage of Xbox on phone.
People enjoying Xbox Game Pass everywhere.
Yeah. So I think they're definitely, as much as it's Xbox is the best place to play, they weren't shying away from the fact that not everyone has an Xbox. And if they can get Xbox into the hands of players in as many ways as possible, that's what they want to do.
Yep. So far we've had confirmed that exclusives are still going to be exclusive. The games that we're taking to other platforms either could do with a player base boost or they've maximized their potential.
Yeah.
And they're smaller titles that were always intended to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Game Pass is still going to be best on Xbox consoles.
Yeah, and
it's not coming to PlayStation or Nintendo. And the final write-up I've got here is there are going to be more consoles in the future. We're not leaving the console business. So again, just put out those fires. It's fine.
Well, I don't know.
No?
Because they didn't say console.
Okay.
They just said the next
hardware
generation.
So you think that might not be console?
I don't know if it'll be a console. I've said last week that was my theory, but they didn't say that there'll be an Xbox console coming next.
Okay.
And that might be me just reading into it too much. They didn't say the word console, but they might not make a console. They might make something else. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. And I agree with you.
We won't know for a while.
I agree with your line of thinking. I think that does make sense. What I read in a second, I believe is them saying, don't worry, we're going to release another Xbox. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But they could, because you're right, the wording is a little vague. They could just as easily come out after the fact, way down the line and say, well, actually, the exciting hardware we were talking about working on at the moment, that's just going to be the one that all the Xbox
Yeah.
games are working on that you stream to
Yeah.
your like little Xbox thumb drive that goes in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I assume another Xbox is coming. That's certainly what they're saying, or at the very least, that the intent of this is to say, don't worry.
It just may not be a console in the same way we know consoles
Maybe.
right now.
Yeah, you're very true. It might not be. So finally, we've got this one here. Xbox has confirmed that the current Xbox Series X/S consoles will not be the company's last. Speaking during a podcast on the future of the Xbox business, Xbox president Sarah Bond made reference to the next generation of Xbox hardware and claimed it would be the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which is quite the claim. Before the podcast was published, some fans were expressing concern on social media that reports of Xbox's plans to bring some of its games to PlayStation and Nintendo consoles may have been a sign that it was exiting the hardware business. Bond's comments, however, appeared to be designed to allay those fears. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday, she said, and we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators for the visions that they're building. Bond explained that the hardware is still that hardware is still a core part of the Xbox development process because the Xbox Game Studios teams can help define the specs of the next Xbox hardware, enabling them to build their games around it.
Yes. I think this is a very interesting thing.
Okay.
I think that we are due from Xbox, and I mean from Sony, but they're doing the PlayStation Slim, a mid-generation update for some stuff. And I think maybe this holiday we'll see some updates to some Xbox series. Maybe we'll get the next series up, whatever it might be.
Series Y.
It'll be the Series Y or Z. And I do think the largest technical leap, they are going to have to do something very different to what they're currently doing. Okay. Because I don't see how, with the current technology we have in today's world, where they can go with their Xbox console, that will be the largest technical leap we've ever seen and still stick to their same current like format of what consoles are. I think that we've reached a point where Xbox consoles and PlayStation consoles are not quite on par with PCs yet, but have taken so much technology from PCs to still be able to be sold as an affordable, somewhat. I mean, £500 is not affordable, really. To still be sold as a console that fits into one thing that isn't necessarily hugely customizable, that like works with everything, is able to be mass produced in the ways that Xbox and PlayStations are. I don't see how they can. I'm not a technology expert, I should say that, but I don't see how we can go from Xbox as it currently is to something that is insanely different, the largest technical leap, without changing the way that an Xbox is built and works. Because I think that there's not enough technological upgrades available to make the console as it is now completely technologically advanced. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I think it's a good point. Because if you go back to that kind of funny interview that Phil did, where he was basically like, yeah, the Xbox One was a disaster.
Yeah.
He said that they're not in the business of outselling PlayStation or out-consoling Nintendo, I think is the quote there. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do something radically different, but internal plumbings and ecosystems and the quality of, cloud saving transfer and stuff like that aside, the PS5 and the Xbox series are basically the same thing.
They're basically the exact same.
They're running slightly different hardware, but they can do the same thing. The Switch does something very different, which is why Nintendo are having so much success and have historically had so much success, because they always forged their own path. Xbox could stand to do that. Maybe Game Pass is still the drive, and they're just like, you know what, flip it. We're not going to outsell the PlayStation 5 because we're not positioned and we're not wanting to do that.
Yeah.
But we are still just going to release our box that you can play Game Pass on, and that'll be the best place to play Game Pass if you want to do it. But you can play Game Pass on your phone, or they could, as you're suggesting, go completely outside the box. do something totally different. Don't know what that would be.
No.
But if they're not able to compete in
that's their job.
It's not our job. If they're not able to compete in a ground war with PlayStation, and that is of concern to their strategy, then why would they keep doing it?
Yeah, I mean, they talked a lot about how Xbox have like the most publishable games or something. They were talking a lot about...
Yeah, they're one of the biggest publishers on other platforms.
Yeah, and I retorted to that when I was watching it last night. It's because you own everything, Phil.
And Minecraft, mainly Minecraft.
Minecraft, yeah. But they have so many games and a system that is so good in Game Pass that and obviously we know they're not coming out of the hardware world, but I do think that maybe the next piece of hardware they create will be so much more dedicated to running Game Pass and using that model that they've created as the basis for their next step up in the console world. I think that Sony should take note from what's happened last night. I think that Xbox have been so transparent with responding to what fans were saying. They've been so obviously it's still relatively vague and we didn't get a huge amount of information, but we still got some idea of what they're doing over the next 12 months. Whereas all we get from Sony is, we're not making any games this year.
No.
Sorry
I hope you like their Helldivers.
Yeah. And I just think that right now, from a consumer perspective, obviously I don't love that Xbox own Activision Blizzard now. I didn't like it when they first announced it, and I still think it feels icky in my tummy, and I don't like it. But from an outsider perspective, I think that if you are an Xbox diehard, that you have a strong horse in the race, I think. And I think that from both the companies that we're talking about that are competitors, Sony and Xbox, I just think that the Xbox kind of come out with the good guy vibes.
They've just got much better PR.
They have got such good PR, and I just think that Sony need to catch up with being how
But do they have to though? Because they're quote unquote winning. And this is because we spoke about this at the time on the podcast. I think they're in a mindset where they literally do not need to talk to their fans. Well, there's that argument for sure, but they're doing so well that they don't need to do this. I think
you're probably right.
And it would be nice, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I would like it personally to know what the hell's going on, as would a lot of other people who play games on PlayStation, mainly. But they simply do not need to do that. That's a strategy shift that we saw with the start of the PS5, literally when Jim Ryan came in. Because through the PS4 generation, or through the start of the PS4 generation, they were trying to catch up and get that goodwill back from the consumer base. And it started to happen towards the end of the PS3 life cycle as well, with the PS3 eventually outselling the Xbox 360 overall. But then, they ran away with it with PS4 with that strategy, and they've got such a strong lead that they're just talk to them. I don't have to. They'll buy whatever I tell them is good, except if it's a live service game that no one wants.
I wonder if this new strategy, we're talking about Sony now.
Okay.
I wonder if with the new strategy that Sony've got, that their live service empire that they're hoping to build will crumble around them.
I hope it does.
And we will finally see some consequences of their actions, and I think they're already starting to alienate their fan base a little bit with what they've been saying a lot with the live service stuff. Is I think they've kind of been not as honest and kind of a bit.
They have no public faces.
They
really?
literally don't.
There's no sort of point of fan interaction. No. It used to be Shuhei Yoshida, but he's barely wheeled out at all anymore.
Yeah.
And
I think Phil Spencer's just always about, and he just such
he seems accessible.
Everyone's best friend is Phil Spencer.
It's a genius move. I have reason to believe that he is a reasonable, nice man. In person.
Yeah.
But certainly the way he's presented, whether that is played up or manufactured slightly, it worked. It really does work, and this worked for them. I do still maintain that this could have been an email.
Oh, absolutely.
They could have put out a statement 2 weeks ago and killed all this immediately.
But also, we hate that when PlayStation does that.
That's true.
We hate when PlayStation does a blog post.
But they could have done both.
They could have done both.
Could have done a blog post just saying, hey guys, it's all good, don't worry.
All rumors,
Phil Spencer, old Philly,
could
have hopped on like just a little FaceTime, like just a vertical video on Twitter saying, guys, it's all right. We'll talk to you next week.
Like, we hear you. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, about the future of Xbox. It's like alarm bells.
Why didn't you say anything, Phil?
That's scary language that you're using.
They truly should have been like, the rumors right now are not true, and we'll clarify everything next week.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have. The lead up to this, I don't know if they were
Fires
just trying
not
to.
Put out, no.
I don't know if they were trying to like take advantage of like no PR is bad PR, but like they were just like fanning the flames. They were like, oh, we'll get back to you next week. Don't worry. And then just like, like more fire.
Yeah.
Just like,
as everything implodes.
It could have been an email. But I'm glad that it wasn't, in the sense that I think that they've come out of this looking very good. And I think that the guy who sold all of his Xbox games and his Xbox probably feeling pretty stupid right now.
I think it would have been really interesting if they did just go for it. If it was like...
everything.
If it was everything.
Yeah.
I think that would have been such a seismic shift for the industry. And it's not, and that's understandable.
But this could be the start of like, there's a little trickle, and maybe eventually
exactly.
Will open.
I imagine these games will do really well, and that would open, that would pave the way for further things down the line. It's not ruled out at all in anything they said, but certainly it's not planned currently.
No, or at least it's not, we're not privy to those plans.
No, certainly
it may very well be planned, but they're like, nothing else, just the 4.
Yeah.
And these games I don't think will be coming to PlayStation before the latter half of this year anyway, so
I wouldn't have thought so.
They'll get announced during the June showcase.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. They'll be like, and coming to PlayStation, Nintendo, these 4 games that you guys definitely didn't know about and haven't been figured it out yourselves anyway.
I wonder, like, I feel like Nintendo's more willing to play ball than PlayStation are.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, because I can imagine any of these games that are coming to Switch, because it may not be all of them.
Yeah.
Because they just may not be able to run on it. Like Grounded might really struggle, because that struggles on Series S, I think.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that the games that do come would be shown as part of like a Nintendo Direct. But I don't imagine that those games will be shown in a state of play. I don't think Sony would let that happen. It feels like the kind of thing that
we'll get a blog post.
We'll get a blog post. This feels like, again, the kind of thing that We're Your Best Mates approach to PR from Xbox works so well. I reckon that they would be the ones to like put out a video and say, coming to PlayStation. You're welcome, guys. Coming to PlayStation, it's Pentiment. Here you go. And PlayStation will stay relatively quiet about it.
But it's like when, when Xbox did their showcase last year, I think it was Xbox, and then Sony like tweeted afterwards being like, these games are also coming to PlayStation as well, and then like list all the games that were also coming to PlayStation from the Xbox showcase. So yeah, I think that we'll see those get announced. They might be coming to PlayStation right now in June.
Yeah, could be.
But I don't see them coming any earlier than that. I think that they'll just be gossip for a while, but it's got to be those 4 games.
It's certainly
the only one that I wouldn't be like 100% like sure is Pentiment, purely because like I know people loved it, but it's just not one that I would have immediately thought of.
Yeah.
But clearly, I mean, if it's rumored to be true, then I'm obviously wrong. But that was not one that came to my mind immediately.
Right.
So
Hi-Fi Rush, I think, possibly stands to have its best version on PlayStation with the haptic feedback and the triggers and stuff. Like, it could legitimately be the best version of that game, which is kind of something.
I think it'd be interesting to see how the Switch handles Sea of Thieves and Grounded. But every time I bring that up, my boyfriend retorts to me with, well, it runs Tears of the Kingdom. And I'm like,
yeah, but
Tears of the Kingdom was built for
they sacrificed like actual children to make that work. That's like an actual witch thing that they did to make that happen. The only explanation is witchcraft with that.
Yeah. We had an argument about
it could run.
We had like an actual Italian
fight. You had a fight
about the Switch, because I was like, but Tears of the Kingdom makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
How does it do that?
It's the impossible game.
It doesn't make, and he was like, but it does. And I'm like, but how? How does it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes
happens.
out and what the games actually are. All we know for now, dates wise, is that you got your first Activision game coming at the end of March, end of next month. We've got potentially a mid-generation console refresh from Xbox at the end of the year being announced.
When's the PlayStation Slim?
Is it not already out?
Is it now?
Yeah, they just they
were phasing out the.
It's phased out now. I think.
And it's just a Slim,
if you buy them, you buy the Slim one.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't seen anyone with them. I don't know.
Sony have got to do a Pro or something, surely. I mean, but then I don't know if they need it because all the games they've got run so well on PlayStation 5 right now.
Well, the Pro is really
they've got no games coming out. So
no, they haven't. The Pro is really heavily rumored, and apparently specs wise, what it'll do is just. The frame rate's going to be bonkers. That's basically what it'll be. Is the frame rate is just it's just unlocked.
Maybe we'll get Xbox and Sony news towards the end of the year.
Maybe
potentially.
We'll see. But as it stands, everything's fine. Nothing's changing. They're just going to essentially, as you said, adopt a similar strategy to PlayStation with PC, but with other platforms instead. And I think that's a sensible move for all the reasons we talked about last week and all the reasons. And, even Phil's own reasoning, it makes sense. It does make sense.
It does make sense.
So we'll continue to report on this as we have news, but that is it for now. Everybody stand down.
Yeah, go buy your Xboxes back now. They'll be double the price that they gave you in CEX. So
yes, they will.
Fork out another £100 when you get there. But
I'm sure it was worth it. Let us know what you thought of everything we discussed this week in the comments section below. Are you calm? Are you collected? Are you happy with the news? Are you excited if you only have a Switch or a PlayStation to potentially play one of those 4 games? Let us know. We want to hear it. There's a few places you can find us on the internet. Isn't there, Ashton Matthews?
There is. YouTube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump for all of our video and live stream content. If you are on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime to get a free Twitch sub. Isn't that nice? Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, on all of which we are at Team TripleJump. And of course, patreon.com/Team TripleJump if you'd like to support us on there.
TripleJ.mup is our website. That's where you can find links to everything that we do. If you want a cameo, if you're a business and you want to advertise with us, you can go through there as well. There's all the information's on there. The freelance video editor job is now closed. I believe people should be or have already been contacted. Peter was heading that up and he's now on holiday.
Yeah.
So I assume people have been contacted. If you haven't, it'll be really soon, I promise.
Yes.
Leave a 5-star review. Why not do that on your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms and it helps us out a lot. We'd really appreciate it. But until we see you next time, I've just got to read this ad read again from
of course.
beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Coming this week, some reviews are now in for this game, by the way.
Good?
No.
Shocking.
Skull and Boners. Skull and Boners. The Valentine's Day bedroom assistance product from Ubisoft.
Do you know we said dick and boners on this?
We did, didn't we?
Today. Good for us.
A real Willy podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. See you next time, everyone. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye.